You say to me, you don't say enough. So I'm saying something, and now you're going to cut me off in the middle? Shut up.
Cut this movie off at the ankles before we even get started.
Shut up. You're fucking... Just...
Welcome to Dysfunctional Date Night, ladies and gentlemen.
From the Hey Did You Ever See That Movie Studios, high above the Prudential Center in sunny downtown Boston, it's showtime. Welcome to Hey Did You Ever See That Movie? I'm your host, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Lynn.
Oh yeah? This morning you left the computer on cockgobblers.com.
Reliable source for weather. And joining us again, the podcaster packing heat, Tony 2.0.
This is why the terrorists hate us.
And unfortunately, Mickey is following around a minor league baseball team down at the Cape. So she won't be joining us tonight.
Ow, that hurts from over here.
Honestly, she's just out sick today. So we all wish Mickey the best. This week, we will be discussing the 2011 comedy Hall Pass, written by Pete Jones, Peter Farrelly, and Kevin Barnett. Directed by Bobby and Peter Farrelly, starring Owen Wilson.
It's Farelly. Farelly. 2 R's and E, 2 L's.
I'd like to buy a valve, Anna.
It's Farelly.
Now they're Italian. It's Farelly.
Starring Owen Wilson, Jason Sudekis, Christina Applegate, and Jenna Fisher. As always, this podcast will contain spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, then come back and listen to the podcast. All right, folks, please take a minute to like and subscribe and share. We now have Patreon. Now, forget that. You're never going to use it.
Yeah, leave us a comment. Tell us if you love it. Tell us if you hate it. Not that we're going to change if you hate it, but you know what? We're good at that.
That's right.
Come on. Bring it.
That's right. Let's head over to the mailbag. Radio dropped us a nice line on the Jaws episode. Great episode, guys. Hard to listen to. This movie scared me for life. Do not feel comfortable even in the bathtub anymore. Alex Scene left me emotionally crippled. And he also insisted that Tony, original recipe, should go get some therapy. I agree with Radio on all counts. Radio, thanks for dropping us a line. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the shares. It's listeners like you that really help the show grow, and we appreciate you very, very much. So there you go. Radio.
Thanks, Radio.
Okay. Hooah! Next show, we are going to be doing The Shining with original flavor, Tony. So be looking out for that one, folks. Okay, let's do some opening thoughts on this movie, though, Hall Pass. We'll get us started. I have watched this movie dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and I love it. But the question is it any good? Let's find out. Tony, were you familiar with Hall Pass before preparing for this podcast?
This was my maiden voyage with Hall
Awesome.
Pass.
And we haven't spoken or texted or anything, so I have no idea if you liked it, and I'm really glad because I can't wait to see how this little Christmas present unwraps.
Or explodes, one or the other.
Dylan, had you seen Hall Pass before preparing for this podcast?
Like many other cringe comedies, you forced me to watch parts of it, and I'm like,
at gunpoint.
Yeah. So that's pretty much the extent of my viewing before the podcast.
So I think we all know who picked this movie this week. Okay. With a box office budget of $36 million and a box office gross of $86.2 million, this movie was considered a moderate to good success for the studios. Let me give you the synopsis. Rick and Fred, two husbands who are having difficulty in their marriages, are given a hall pass by their wives. For 1 week, they can do whatever they want. So there you go. If you guys have...
Sounds like trouble, Mean Gene.
If you have nothing else to bring
No,
to
it
the
doesn't.
podcast, let's get into the scene breakdowns.
Rick and Fred are best friends, as are their wives, Maggie and Grace. They're both unhappy with their married lives and missing the old days when they were single, constantly discussing how they would operate if they weren't married. Rick gets caught checking out a woman's ass at the party and at a party, and later, after getting home, he fails to score with his own wife, Maggie. Later, the couples attend a housewarming party for some douchey show-off friends, and they get caught talking over the surveillance camera, saying wildly inappropriate things before the foursome get kicked out of the party. Dr. Lucy, a friend of Maggie and Grace, suggests that the girls give the boys a hall pass, a week off of marriage so they can remember what it was like before marriage, and it wasn't all poon and titties. Maggie decides to give Rick a hall pass right away, but Grace is not convinced until Fred is caught jerking off in his fully loaded minivan right in front of his house by the police. So this whole beginning is a huge cringe fest. Like, I'm just spending the whole time like, ugh, just gross. I hate this. All of this makes me want to die. Just die. Rick and Fred are acting like animals. The poker party, the barista, all of it. Grossed out. I was so annoyed that Des lined up this fucking cringe fest for us. Embarrassment humor is not my thing. I don't like it.
Okay, we get it.
Well, hold on. No, it's my turn to talk.
Yeah, let her go. She's preaching, baby.
Up. You say to me, you don't say enough. So I'm saying something, and now you're going to cut me off in the middle? Shut up.
Cut this movie off at the ankles before we even get started.
Shut up. You're fucking... Just...
Welcome to Dysfunctional Date Night, ladies and gentlemen.
When it's your turn to talk, you talk. Until then, you just sit there and keep your mouth shut. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. However, spoiler alert, I wasn't aware this was a Farelly Brothers movie until about halfway through.
Farley.
If I had known that right out of the gate, I think I might have been a little kinder in my thoughts about it, because they do make a habit out of doing this. It's really kind of gross and ridiculous and cringy, but most of their movies do lead to a nice end, so I probably wouldn't have been quite so fucking annoyed at the beginning of the movie if I had realized that.
Thank you. Speaking of nice ends, everybody, for those of you who don't listen to the whole podcast, skip ahead to the alternate endings, because once again, I have got the best alternate ending since my last best alternate ending.
Which was just about 2 weeks ago.
So let me set this whole podcast up today. So sometimes when we do movies like this, cringe comedy or just, fucking satire or slap the knee comedies, I don't break them down like a real movie. I'll just be like, oh, I thought it was really funny when he said big mouth vagina. Ha ha ha. Like, you all know it's funny. So I'm going to give you a real movie review of this movie. Of course, when I watch this movie, I laugh and I don't view it through this lens I'm about to view it for. So I'm going to give you that first. And secondly, I am drawing pictures of naked women on my notes paper that I keep by the desk when we do this. So that should give you an idea of why I love this movie so much. Now,
because you're a 12-year-old boy.
First off, let me front load this podcast by telling you that I am a combination of Fred and Joe Dirt. Probably 70% Fred and 30% Joe Dirt. So that's pretty much wraps me up in a nutshell, which will let you know why I'm going to be championing for this movie. But with that being said, I have zero interest in a hall pass or any infidelity of any kind, unless Dylan is offering. Okay.
That was an attempt at humor, ladies and gentlemen. Please note that in your scorecards. Thank
crickets.
You. Oh, my goodness.
Okay. Let's talk about our four main players in this movie. First, we get Rick. Decent guy. He's infatuated with women and women's asses, and he's a gawker, but right off the bat, he seems harmless. He seems to be a really good dad and a solid husband on the surface from what we're getting. Next, we have Fred, who is basically me, a complete horn dog that is in need of therapy for his masturbation / porn addiction. Been 2 weeks. Then we have Maggie, who honestly feels like a wife that is completely checked out on her husband. And finally, we get Grace, who is much like Delynn, playing games, trying to match wits to the best of her abilities with her immature, over-the-top, sexually addicted husband. And we get all this information pretty quickly. And honestly, these two couples have very different dynamics, due mostly to Rick and Maggie having children, which, thank God, Dylan and I avoided like the plague. Next, we get Rick driving home babysitter Paige. We see here that Rick is a good guy. He's got a solid moral compass. he gets home, he takes care of his daughter, lets her put the ponytails in his hair, but Maggie decides to pretend to be asleep to avoid Rick's advances. I honestly feel a little bad for Rick. He obviously cares about his family. He's not a bad guy. Next, we meet Lee and Brent at the coffee shop. And I love these two characters for two reasons. First, they are perfectly cast. Secondly, their dynamics provide a great subplot to this movie. Without this subplot, without this crazy little fucking DJ kid, this movie's not as good. And again, here in the coffee shop, we see Rick is a little bit frisky and Fred is completely unhinged with no filter, doing this little taking pictures with his eyes. It's great. And then we get, hey guys, you're banging the fucking barista girl. You know, we get some really funny comedy here. Brent, you know, you guys need help. No, we're all set. She took the order. It wasn't a question. Like, it's really funny. And I think that Fred and Rick are not as similar as we're led to believe. Like, they lead us to believe like this is Tweedledee and Tweedledum. No, this is a pit bull and a fucking poodle. Fred is a pit bull. Rick is a poodle. Next, we meet the boys at the card game. Okay, we're going to meet the crew. And I love the supporting cast. Hoghead, Gary, Flats. These guys are fucking great. Solid gold. And finally, we get the housewarming party. And for me, this is Farelly Brothers magic. This is them at their best. As many times as I've seen this movie and I've seen this scene, I fucking laugh out loud every single time. And on the way home, Fred, anybody thinking a cookie dough ice cream and a waffle cone? Dude, I'm dying here. Fucking Tony, what do you got on these opening scenes?
I will concur with you. I think that JB Smoove as Flats is probably the most real character in the whole damn film.
He's awesome.
Because he is the foil to all the cockamamie shit that these other chuckleheads come up with. Because he's basically the guy who's like, really? Mm-hmm. You gonna do that? Because this is, he's basically the wall they are bouncing things off of. And he's got that deadpan delivery, so he does play well. Knowing this was a Farrelly film, I thought it would be at the level of some of their other works, the Kingpin and the Dumb and Dumber, Me, Myself, and Irene. Unfortunately, I was a little bit let down. I am an Owen Wilson fan. I don't think they gave him quite the medium to do his stuff. He's very square, even to the point of his look. If you look at him in Wedding Crashers, he's the wild man, right? Him and Vince Vaughn are the wild men in Wedding Crashers. Here, he is the straight man. And I don't know if that plays to his best end. Sudekis is a talent, but he didn't quite give me what I was looking for in this guy. You are absolutely correct when you deem them as very different, because they are. They're super different people. And like you said, you find out throughout the progression of the film that Rick is just, a steady Eddie, super good dude. And he's got a wandering eye. Find me a male in America that is conscious and alert that does not have a wandering eye, and I'll tell you what their problem is. And the other difference is that, they might be blind or deaf or both, but anyway. And the other difference too is that, I love the fact that they call out the tactics that are used, like, oh, you look over there, and then as they walk through that, you could say, oh yeah, I was just looking over there. I had no idea there was a woman in my youth.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah, and it's so paper thin, and we've all done it, and we've all been busted for it. But
it's great that Applegate knows the move, right? That Grace knows the move and is telling fucking Maggie, oh, I know that move. I like watching. I'm not gonna let him know.
I can't believe he still tries it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so lame, and he even knows it's lame, and he still goes with it. And that's the other thing. The women in this film are very different women as well, right?
Yes.
Jenna Fisher, by the way, is the world's worst actress. She needs to get into a whole other field. She couldn't act her way out of a wet paper bag on a good day. I really thought maybe she was under the influence of some kind of narcotics. I could be wrong, but it seems so contrived, and just, you had to pry shit out of her. It's like, I know you want to be the goody two shoes, but come on here, girl, give me a little something to work with. And Christina Applegate, well, she's perfect for
She
that
really
role
was.
because she's more sophisticated. She's got her game together. She kind of knows where she's going and what she's doing. And they don't build her character big time, but she's definitely more on the edge and rolling and doing whatever. There's no woman in America actually going to do this shit, even if they think it, may spice up their marriage or fix their emotional problems or whatever the situation is. They're going to be like, I'm going to give them more work, not less work. This is going in the wrong direction. But I think the film had some good lines. I got a couple of belly laughs. It wasn't to the standard of what I thought a Farelly Brothers film was, only because I think they just had, not quite enough to work with. They were clawing up the mountain.
What did you think of what did you think about the sequence though when they're caught on the surveillance camera talking shit?
Oh yeah, and the supporting cast is perfect. The female actress that's there is just so contrived, and she's got like the clown makeup and the fake tan,
the little
the matching
the little
clothes,
kids, yeah,
and getting Alyssa Milano in there.
Yeah, it's just so brutally bad that you gotta dig it, because even to the point where he's like, pound my potato. That was one of them where I'm just like, that guy's fucking out of his mind, right?
Dude,
who says and does that shit? And then he like won't leave until they do it, and it's like,
and I love when they
this
try
guy.
and diss him, and he goes, "He's a pretty good guy. He is a decent guy." Okay.
Yeah, like they can't even find fault with it. It's like, not only that, but nothing personal. When maybe it's California, when you go to a coffee shop, you don't act like that. This isn't Friends. This is real life.
No, it's not though.
Most people,
but it's not.
Okay, right. It's movie land.
It's beyond movie
but it's
land.
the idea that
It's beyond movie land. Okay.
Okay.
I think you made that point when you were talking about how, Jay Smooth brings it. He's the only thing that sets the boys scenes in reality, and everything else is just a satire on life. This is not supposed to feel like we're in real life. I mean, just the
JB Smooth is the anchor.
yeah.
right. He's the guy that reels everybody back in and says, "What the F are you doing, people? Get your shit together." Yeah, because Hoghead is that guy who's like, "Oh, really? You think you can do that? I can do one better." Right? He's the topper. The character that has the British accent is just that
great.
buddy you drag around because you want to show him that you're a somebody, right? Because he's never done or been, had experiences with this kind of stuff. So and even to the scene where he's like tying the bed sheets together to escape the second floor of the house to sneak out with the boys is like just beyond, that just goes to show you we're really 12 here.
Great.
Everyone in this movie is really 12.
It's Farelly Brothers at their finest. And like you said, this is not Kingpin. This is not one of their better.
Sadly,
But again, it's not pushed that far into satire land. Like this is pulled a little bit more back into your standard run-of-the-mill cringe comedy movie, where stuff like Kingpin, I mean, these are like, we're getting jokes like nailing your rubber hand to a post. I mean, like this doesn't go that far as some of his other movies, or their other movies, I should say.
Yeah, he's got some great lines, no two ways about it. Even the Kathy Griffin shtick, just because I'm a total Kathy Griffin hater. But it's beautiful when he's like, I paid $275 to have her come to this party.
I've hated Kathy Griffin since Seinfeld, man. You don't fuck with Jerry Seinfeld. It's that simple, okay?
That's it.
While Rick and Fred are skeptical at first, they ultimately accept the hall pass and decide to try to pick up women with their friends, Gary, Flats, and Hoghead. Maggie and Grace decide to spend the hall pass week at Maggie's parents' house on the Cape. With their wives and children away, Fred and Rick check in at a motel and prepare for their hall pass week. On day one, they decide to eat before going to a local bar and get too tired and spend the night there, preferring to stay in the hotel. On day two, they eat pot brownies and decide to play golf, but get too high and wreak havoc on the golf course. On day three, Rick and Fred go to a bar with their friends, but fail to impress women there. They decide to get drunk in order to become more loose, but go too far and wind up getting into a fight with other customers. They spend day four at the hotel suffering from a hangover. So this little montage, I figure we could just jam it into one because it's pretty quick. But they're not off to a good start here. But the golf course pot brownies was amazing. Like, to me, this was maybe my favorite part of the whole movie because it was just straight up ridiculousness, stupidity for the sake of, I mean, it's just Gary in the water and just like
we're wandering into
ridiculous.
the fucking Twilight Zone. I mean, let's be honest. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
And you can actually see it happening. Obviously, these guys are not exactly super experienced. they feel like they're all kind of bonding over this experience thing. And he goes, the guy that cleans the windows at the office gave me these.
Perfect.
And it's like, yeah, perfect. That's like saying, I'm going to assemble this shit, but I'm not going to read the instructions. Who needs those? Hey, I'll just
He
put it
said
all
he
together.
took too much.
Didn't Mickey just tell us a story that like matches this like note for note?
Basically.
Well, somewhat. The key is A, they weren't brownies, and B, next time read the instructions.
Okay, so the hall passes are issued here, and we're off and running. Fred shows up at Rick's place to work to tell him the good news. And this is where we get the first of many over-the-top misogynistic comments, okay? But they're meant to be funny. Like, it's so over-the-top, they're not even trying to say this is set in reality. Fred says, I'm going to go try and bang the secretary. Okay. As if he's going to go in there, proposition this stranger, and she's just going to jump up on the desk and pull her skirt up and let him fuck her right there in the fucking real estate office. It's ridiculous. And what does Rick say? That's probably not a great idea. I feel like Rick is at best half-heartedly partaking in this hall pass. And I honestly don't think his actions at home have warranted this from Maggie. I just don't. Like, he's not a fucking bad guy. Like, she's fucking out of her mind. And in fact, I feel like Maggie doesn't appreciate what seems like a good marriage to a solid guy and a really, really good father. Now we get to the restaurant with the boys, and right away we get more of these crazy comments. Gary says, which one are you going to bang first? He doesn't even, now we've taken the word try out now. Gary just says, which one are you going to bang first? As if this is a pen full of hogs and Rick and Fred are backward hillbillies looking to pull them out and just start partying in the Big Ben. Like they're just going to go just start shoving their dicks in like whoever they want at fucking Applebee's. That's
a fantastic visual. I'm going to spend all night purging from my mind.
Squeal like a pig, boy. Squeal like a pig, boy.
You got a party man.
I just watched that movie from beginning to end, not even a week ago. And for a movie from the late 70s, it is fucking still phenomenal.
It is absolutely great cast, great film.
Yes,
well written, well shot.
We need to do that one. Honey, do you even know what we're talking about?
Of course, I know it's Deliverance.
Okay.
Trust me, if you've ever even heard about it, it is etched upon your mind.
Yes, it's really good.
There's a reason why I'm not going into the woods alone.
Now, like I said, I've watched this movie millions of times, and I've never watched it through this lens. For me, it's just funny, and I just laugh throughout it, and I don't question anything I'm watching. I just think it's great. I love Fred. I love all these characters. I think everybody nails it. I love the casting. But for the podcast, it needs to be broken down for what it is, and it's fucking insane. It's a fever dream. We get this great scene, like Dylan was saying, at the golf course with the boys on edible brownies, and I love it. But what's going on with Hoghead? This guy has major GI problems. At the restaurant, he revealed he needs to go home and take a shit that would require a post-shit bath. Okay? A post-shit bath. And then here we see him shitting in the sand trap. This guy needs to see a GI doctor. He's got problems.
Des, you do understand that fecal stories are fairly gold.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they the young lady that does make it back to the hotel is uproariously funny to the idea that if you're into that kind of thing, she doesn't notice what she's done.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's the best.
You got to wonder.
Best. It's the best.
Well, but it's also the idea that, that's how you know you're in this film because it's so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of scary. My first comment here was about Applebee's was all these guys do is eat shitty food and fail at everything. Right? Because essentially, what do? They're playing the bachelor role. They eat at the worst chain restaurants. They make an Olive Garden joke, and then where do they go? Chili's. Okay, you guys couldn't get laid if you had a fistful of 50s and a fast
that should have
car.
been the synopsis. These guys eat shitty food and suck at everything. The end.
Yeah, they fail at everything they do. And the best part too is, how do we say this? I know we all remember our history as though it were epic shit, right? We are like Greek gods, et cetera, et cetera. These guys struck out when they were in college too. Let's be serious, okay? They thought they were all that in a bag of chips and they weren't shit. And now that they're 40-somethings, it's compounded, right? The problems are now exponentially worse. And they have no game, right? They got about as much smooth as I do. And they think they're all that. And of course, that's just typified everywhere they go. So you got to take the fun out of that.
So finally, we get these montages of the boys striking out with the ladies, and I'm laughing throughout this. I love all these scenes with these guys. I love when all these guys are together on screen. They just these comedians are really just working together. Again, Rick is basically looking to go home to his wife and kids because at his core, he is content with his family, with his life, with his wife. He's on the street bikes. He's like, dude, let's just give it up. And Fred's like, no way. And he's like, I miss my wife. I miss my kids. I just want to go home. He never wanted to do this. But it's Fred that is in a volatile marriage that's on the razor's edge of infidelity and divorce at all times. And it's Fred that keeps Rick in this ill-advised game that will ultimately lead to only one of the four spouses having red-hot sex. And as fate will have it, it's Fred's wife, Grace, that will have sex with a hot, young, ripped dude in a fucking hotel room. This whole thing ultimately will blow up in Fred's face, and he will wind up losing his wife. So, fucking Fred's fucked. Tony.
Yeah, I concur. It's the kind of concept where, what was the line? Men are from Mars and women are from Venus, or men are dogs and women are cats. Men look back at glory, women look forward at what could be. You know what I mean? Women have vision, men look in the rearview mirror because it's glory days, to use a bad, music line. So you get what you get. And it's the idea too that it's always glorified. It was never the bad times you remember. It's only the good shit. Remember how we used to blah, 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 and we did this and that. And then you see these guys out there and you're just like, oh my God, they're hopeless.
Oh yeah. And the hall pass is always going to go better for the ladies.
Yeah, well, of course, because the power's in their hands.
Oh, God. And for the record, now, if I had to choose between a 7-minute blowjob from a guy or making out with a dude for 5 minutes, or my whole family would die, I hope they die peacefully in their sleep.
That's a fact check. The only thing funny about that whole scene is the ridiculous clarifying questions.
Oh, no, the best part is when fucking...
Well, was it like tongue or what? Of course.
The best part of you
like, who comes up with that shit? Who comes up with this
Smooth
shit?
is like, I'm out of here. I see you guys hook up with chicks, not talk about dicks.
Yeah. I mean, that's the guy. He's the head slap that they absolutely
I
need.
love Gary. I love Gary, too, like really pontificating it. He's like, well... a blowjob. He's like, but making out is so intimate. What does he do for work? What does he do for work? That's important to Gary.
Who fucking cares?
Holy
Who
shit.
cares?
I love that character. That character is so layered and so weird and deep. I love it.
On day 5, Rick goes to a local coffee shop where Rick flirts with an attractive barista named Lee, much to the annoyance of her coworker, Brent, who insults Rick. When Rick answers him back, Lee is impressed and tells Rick that they might see each other at the local gym. They later meet there, and Lee invites Rick for a beer after they work out. Rick decides to sit in the hot tub and falls asleep, stays there for several hours, ending up with his muscles too weak to use and forced to accept the help of 2 naked men to leave, much to his dismay. Meanwhile, Grace has met a baseball player, Jerry, and is getting closer to him while Maggie finds herself attracted to Jerry's coach. The girls figure if the boys can have a hall pass, so can they. So this is a movie, and I shouldn't get this deep into it, but I get it. The girls are also exploring what it would be like to be with other people, and it's important to the plot. But I feel like if they're going to do that, the husbands should be aware of that. I know it would create a huge double standard for them to allow the boys a pass and not have one themselves. But I feel like you're in an adult relationship. This is a big deal. You should be on the same page before you just go and decide to mess around with a baseball player. It made me feel like the women were on the moral high ground at the beginning of the movie, and now somehow they've become the bad guys.
See, I see it differently. I don't think there's any good guys in this movie. Nobody, not even Rick. Not even at the very best, Rick might be like an anti-hero by the end of this, but he's still not great. These people are all despicable. Every fucking relationship in this movie is 100% toxic, including even the relationships between the guys and the friends. I mean, Coakley's going to reveal that he fucking banged Rick's sister at his wedding, and she was married at the time, and the husband was there. I mean, this is all toxic. It's horrible. So surprisingly, on the on-screen chemistry between the actress who played Lee and Rick, Owen Wilson, really great. It felt believable to me. They picked a hot chick, right? But they didn't pick a chick that was too hot. Like she was like,
I don't know. She's rather
I don't know.
attractive.
She's pretty
She had
hot.
pancake boobs.
Yeah.
When she pulled the boobs on, I was like, oh, Magna, fucking something about
Pancake
Mary.
boobs.
Yeah, the boobs.
I didn't know that was a technical term,
Yeah,
but okay.
the boobs left. I mean, yeah, they could have hooked up. I just thought it worked. I thought it was a cute little on-screen flirt they were having going on. It felt organic to me. They picked an actress that didn't seem too stuffy either. Like she seemed like she'd be down for whatever, like just kind of a cool chick.
Right.
With flat boobs, with pancake boobs. Now, after Rick falls asleep in the hot tub, we get this scene with Irish guy and African American guy. And first off, Irish guy needs penile implant. And the other guy needs to be checked for Peyronie's disease because that thing looked like a friggin' boomerang. Okay.
These are terrible stereotypes.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
My God.
This is, I mean, especially for the poor Irish guy. Holy shit, man. This thing.
And of course, he has flame red curly hair. I mean, come on.
God.
We couldn't just make him Western European. You had to make him Irish.
I don't think it was the red bush that was offensive. But this is classic Farelly Brothers humor. I had no problem with it. I thought it was funny. But when Rick says, you guys switch positions. Okay. Now, if this was a gay porn and I was Rick, I would not want those positions switched. Okay. Leave Irish guy down where he is.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the show is now devolved into a Farelly Brothers review.
You guys should see Delyn. She's literally holding her head in her hands.
Yeah, because Rick is the only good guy in the film, basically, and he's not in gay porn.
Right now, right now, radio and the other listeners are like, thank God that was getting fucking boring. I'm glad Des finally came to life. Okay, so I agree with Delyn. This part of the hall pass, the women also being, this should have been discussed. But if you're a man assuming you can have sex with a strange woman while the little lady sits at home and watches your kids, you are a self-absorbed asshole that is not living in reality. When you sign on for a week of infidelity, you have to assume that the contract swings, no pun intended, both ways. And in my opinion, Grace and Maggie, they're a little too comfortable with this whole arrangement, especially Grace, who honestly could do a lot better than Fred, and I think she knows it. And I was talking about this. I never saw the women as the good guys because they were being just as sneaky and low down as the husbands.
Oh yeah, and not only that, but the whole concept is their hatchling.
Yes,
they come up with it. Maggie takes this and runs with it, and it's completely ill-advised, of course. Yeah. But it's also the idea that she's sad and desperate, so she'll grab onto anything, any port and storm. And it's even to the point where, Rick looks at her and says, are you sure? He's dumbfounded when this plan first comes out because he's like, where is this coming from? Yeah. He doesn't get it.
The guys are acting like idiots in the beginning of the movie. Sure, they're checking out girls in front of their wives. They're getting caught jacking off in their car and, just doing stupid guy shit, right? And the ladies are returning the volley, if you will, by pretending to be asleep and shutting them down. And none of this is playing into either of theirs favor. You want them to only have eyes for you, but you want to pretend you're asleep when they advance onto you. You want your wife to want you, but at the same time, you're checking out women right in front of her, disrespecting her. So, they're just not on the same page. They're just assholes. They're four assholes. And I fucking love it. I'm lapping this up like gravy. So at this point, I'm not sure we really have a true protagonist in this movie. Everyone sucks. And Rick says something that is telling. He says, I want to be with someone that really wants to be with me out of desire, not out of some sense of duty. And anybody that's been married for 2 decades knows exactly what he's talking about. This is where marriage kicks in. This is where either you love this person and you're down for this and, no problem. Like I'm good. That's where I'm at in life. But
right. And they, not to interrupt you, Des, but they allude to it in the first few scenes where they're trying to set up a little rendezvous, but coming back from the party and getting the
Yep.
sitter away and then getting the kids to bed and nothing goes right. And that's just life. You know what I mean? You have to find, 20 minutes where you can try to squirrel away and have some privacy.
Not if you don't have kids.
Well, true, but in this, you're right. But in this case, that's the situation, and that's what we're faced
I slept
with.
until 1:00 this afternoon.
Must be nice. You got to remember too. Here's the best part. If you have a true partner, not just someone you're married to, because anybody can get married. You don't need a plan or a brain to do that. But you have someone who covers your back. You can say, "Hey, kids, don't bother Daddy. He's sleeping. He needs rest because of whatever." And most kids are great because they want to do that. They quest, acceptance. They want to keep Daddy happy, whatever. Especially this Daddy, because Rick is portrayed as a good father. Sure. He's understanding, he's caring, he's loving. You don't see Sudekis' character as the same guy whatsoever. He's more worried about the features in the minivan.
Tony, with you saying that, okay, so we're all seeing it. Rick is a great guy, and Maggie is acting like he's been caught cheating or sexting with someone, or like none of this is going on. This is just a great.
Yeah, this is her fucking foible mentally, and he's left with the bill.
So she's literally throwing this hall pass at him. She's ready to blow up the marriage. Like she just is. She's checked out. She has lost interest in Rick. She does not desire Rick anymore. She wants him to run out and meet somebody else. She wants to go meet somebody else. She doesn't want to sleep with him anymore. It's just, I really feel like Maggie is kind of the antagonist of the entire movie, to be honest with you. She's the one that's, her and the doctor who suggests this absurd fucking thing. Now let's talk about Fred in the massage parlor quickly. Okay. Because this fucking scene, this scene for me was so fucking hilarious. No, I said no tea bags. Really, this is not very relaxing. And how is it that I know more about massage than you? This whole thing is funny. And then when he storms out of the place and he runs the little fucking Chinese kid over and you hear the kid scream under his footsteps, I'm literally pissing my pants laughing. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a great comedic technique where he goes into the Chinese laundry first, and there's just like a partition. Yeah. It's not even a wall. So good. Probably the most masterful comedic bit in the film, to be terribly honest with you. And the best part too is that she's like, fill out this form. Anybody with a half a brain would have just put down Joe Smith. I live at 123 Anywhere Street. Blah blah blah.
That's what I put.
And he's just like, no, not doing it. Oh my God, because he's just a complete stick in the mud.
The rub, the tug, no, I said rub, no tug, and the tea bags. You put them on your eyes afterwards. It's very relaxing.
Along with some cucumber.
When he pats the little girl and the mother, don't do that. And she's like wiping the top of the little girl's head. Yes. I'm so fucking easy. I love this. All right, Dylan. Dylan is so done with this podcast already. Keep going.
On day 6, Rick and Fred go to a bar called Enter the Dragon with their friend Coakley, where Rick runs into his children's babysitter, Paige, who just turned 21 and is with her aunt, Meg. Paige is attracted to Rick, but he shoots her down to dance with Lee. Brent, the party's DJ, is angry at this. After the party is over, Rick goes to the party at Coakley's, while Fred takes a girl to his motel room. However, she feels sick and after shitting herself in the bathroom is sent back home by Fred before they can have sex. Later that evening, Paige's aunt Meg shows up at the room and mistakes Fred for Rick, eventually seducing him. Fred fakes oral sex on her. I just even saying that sentence made my soul die a little bit, but okay. Meanwhile, Jerry's coach tries to seduce Maggie, but she sends him packing. Grace, on the other hand, does have sex with Jerry, but tells him it will just be that one time. On her way back home, she feels guilty about cheating on Fred and has a car accident. At Coakley's house, Rick meets Lee, who offers him a one-time fling. He initially wants to do it, but ultimately declines, unable to cheat on Maggie. He hears about Grace's accident and rushes to tell Fred. Paige is there, thinking that Rick is messing around with her aunt. They enter the room and find Fred having fake sex with her. After finding out the truth, Meg kicks Fred in the face. So a lot of gross out comedy here. Some I could have done without, like the shit in the bathroom.
What?
It almost feels like they were...
The fuck is wrong with this? One of the funniest scenes in the movie.
To you,
nah,
it almost feels like they were trying to one up something about Mary, but it's gross stuff. It's not clever. So I could have done
When
without it.
she sneezed and that grenade of shit hit the back of the fucking shower wall. Woo! I'm laughing.
Honestly, I would have been more down with the scene, not to say that in the wrong tense, but if she had just apologized and looked very pathetic. But the whole idea that she didn't realize what happened doesn't make it funny. It makes it ridiculous.
So funny to me. And when he's like, take her anywhere she wants to go to the cab driver.
But that's a different scene, right?
The smell in that car, I can only imagine.
Well, of course, she would have needed to get hosed off first. I mean, come on. This girl's like a walking fucking biohazard.
I've got a fun little story for you. So back when I was probably 10, maybe a little younger, 8, I was going to school. I was living with my grandfather, my grandmother, my step-grandmother, and their 2 kids. And I went to school with the boy, and we would carpool with a group of other kids. And it was probably about a half an hour drive, maybe 40 minutes from where I was living. So being a little kid, I did not want to poop in the bathroom at school. I just was embarrassed. I would always try and hold it. So I was, doing that thing where you sit on your heel, and I was trying my best, and I shit my pants in the library badly. And then being just a little guy, I didn't know what to do. So what did I do? I wrote it out the rest of the day. Big loaf of shit in my pants, right? And then it's winter. We get into this car for this carpool home, this 40-minute drive, a car full of probably 5 kids and 2 adults. And I can only remember the windows down. It's like 25 degrees out for and I knew it was because I shit my pants. So I got home, I took the shitty underwear off, and I had hid them somewhere, and my step grandmother found them, and she like, did you poop your pants? There you go. Story time's over. Okay. But yeah, that half an hour drive was one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. Yeah.
Good. I'm glad it wasn't the poop in your pants thing in the library. I mean, I'm glad we're over that.
It was diarrhea too, because I held on to it for so long. Okay. Number 4. This is
You might be related to the Farelly brothers. Okay.
That's probably not even top 10. I got to be honest with you. So next we meet Coakley here. And Coakley.
Lynn is shaking her head. I wish the audience could see it. It's beautiful.
So many things have happened. So many. Okay. So
the tangled webs we weave.
Yes. I mean, I won't get into the time that I drank fucking X-Lax for 3 days thinking that it was fucking Mylanta for my heartburn. So next.
Oh, he really did that.
Yeah.
Yes, obviously. Yeah. I don't think he would make that up.
Yeah, he really did that.
That's gold.
He says to me, honey, my heartburn's just not getting better. I think something's wrong with me. I've been drinking the stuff to make it.
Shitting my brains out.
And he goes, and now I'm having diarrhea. It won't stop. I can't stop shitting. I go, let me see what you've been drinking. I go, motherfucker, this is laxative.
Yeah, I drank.
You've been drinking laxative for 3 days.
Like half a bottle. You're supposed to be taking a teaspoon at a time and guzzling it like it's fucking a milkshake. Okay.
Well, read the instructions.
I think that's gonna be the message in this podcast. Read the instructions.
There you go. Do you know you want a simpler, better life? Read the goddamn instructions.
Okay, so we meet Coakley here. I love this fucking character. This is a Farelly Brothers character all day long. Really good. Next, Rick. He runs into Paige at the party. And this little horny home wrecker is so annoying. I fucking hate this character. And this is the second time, okay, we're going to see Rick presented with an easy hookup. And this is the second time Rick is going to be a solid dude. And he says no, and he sends Paige packing. Now, let me tell you something. Fred would have been banging Paige for the second time if presented with this opportunity. There's no way Fred is saying no to Paige. And I'll tell you how I know he wouldn't. Because he goes to his neighbor's house and tries to fuck the Papadopoulos lady. Like, it's just got divorced. Like,
yeah, what does he say? I brought you Greek food.
Well, say, hey, don't shoot the messenger. Like,
and that's the best part. Yeah, right. He's so utterly incompetent. It's almost beyond comedy. It's just ridiculous.
Did you come here to fuck me? Did you bring me this trash food and come here to fuck me? Hey, don't shoot the fucking messenger. I fucking love Fred.
He should have just looked at her deadpan and said, yep. I mean, yep. That's basically it.
Oh, my God. So next we get this setup for the final act. We're going to meet Diarrhea Girl. We're going to meet Aunt Meg And again, the stalker DJ Brent, who is growing more and more dangerous by the minute. His kid is coming unhinged. And I fucking love this actor, man. His face is just perfect for this character. So first we see Maggie and Coach Rick. This is an emotional encounter. This is what I would call emotional cheating, right? So it doesn't quite get there, but we're also not seeing all the scenes. Farelly Brothers are not letting us see a lot of what's going on between Maggie and Coach Rick on purpose, I think, because I think we're all supposed to wonder exactly what happened with them. Was there a kiss? Was there, like, what happened? I don't know. Then we see Grace and Gary, and this is purely a sexual encounter, right? Then we see Fred and Aunt Meg. Fred has no interest in Aunt Meg, but he is so desperate to succeed in this little mission, he begrudgingly performs fake chow. And finally, we see Rick and Lee. And this one felt...
I don't understand why he did it fake, though. Like, you've been dying to fucking jump into any girl's pants, and you finally get a chance, and that's what you're going to do?
Did you see Aunt Meg? I'm not going there.
Well, wait a minute. I get the feeling that this is only because Aunt Meg basically throws herself at him like
why
a
didn't he bang
cheap
her,
skirt, you know
Tony?
what I mean? Well,
I don't
maybe we
understand.
just hadn't gotten that far, but apparently he thinks this is the be-all, end-all.
I
So,
would have
who
cleaned,
knows?
honestly, given the choice between Aunt Meg and Diarrhea Girl, I'm cleaning up Diarrhea Girl and going that route.
Okay, well, you know what they say, to each their own.
Or even better, because this is kind of kink. Maybe I don't clean up Diarrhea Girl and I just do her dirty. Okay.
La,
okay.
la, la,
okay.
la, la,
okay.
la,
And
la,
That's
don't
it.
you
You're
Make
done.
it stop.
Don't talk to me for the rest of the night. You're
Make it
Don't you
stop.
dare. Okay. And finally, we get Rick and Lee, right? And this one to me felt very innocent. Just like their relationship throughout this entire movie, it never gets racy. It always feels like it's on the friend kick with a little bit of that like fun flirtation between the two of them. And this is where Rick becomes the true anti-hero of the movie or / protagonist of the movie. This is where I start to really say, this is a fucking good guy. This is the only good guy in this movie. Now I want to quickly address Gary, the baseball player's behavior after he has sex with Grace. Because I think people kind of look at this and are like, oh, what an asshole. He used her, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's not what happened here. Okay, they used each other for a good time. And the way he treats her at the end with the Hef comment, the Hugh Hefner comment stuff, this isn't bad. And I want to explain why. So they have sex. And then she sits him down on the bed immediately after, before their clothes are even completely on. And she starts talking to him like a child. And she basically is dumping this kid 2 seconds after they have sex. So of course he's going to try and save some face. And of course he's going to go on the defense. She's like, little child, this can't happen again. You know, but, and he's like, listen, fucking grandma, who said it was going to happen again? And, you know, so I'm going to give him a hall pass. You know, she could have talked to him like an adult and, you know, and maybe.
Yeah, I think his feelings were actually hurt.
His feelings were hurt too. I think he really liked Grace. And I think his feelings were hurt and he was literally just saving face, you know, because then he says immediately, you know what, we got this thing going on, fucking, I'm out of here. So,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, he obviously generates an excuse to leave.
Yeah, you know, where I don't think that was the case. I mean, any young dude, I remember when I was young banging old ladies, fucking, the first one was like just to get the fucking baby batter out. There was a better one coming down the line. So I think that Gary had plans of drinking margaritas with her all night and banging her into the morning hours. I think Grace blew it. She should have dumped him at 4 a.m. Okay. Finally, we get this delicious just squeezing her fucking head.
Wait, so 4 a.m. is before or after they get it on?
Because I think it was probably like around 9 o'clock when she dumped him after the first quickie. What I'm saying is, had she stayed till 4, might have banged her, you know, at least 1-2 more times.
Right, right. He would have, you know, massed the troops and come back for another attack.
Exactly.
I got you.
Massed the troops.
Whatever.
I love this. Okay.
You know.
Dude, see, if we'd had another female on this episode, it might not have gone down this fucking shitter hole.
No, nothing personal. You didn't want Mick on this one, bro. It would have been too much for you. She would have been just carnivore. It would have been ugly.
Okay. And finally, we get this little scene between Coakley and Rick talking about Coakley banging Rick's married sister at the wedding. I fucking love this because Coakley doesn't even remember it was his sister. And as he's unrolling this story for us, the viewers, you can see Rick just breaking down inside until finally he goes, yeah, my sister, whatever her name was.
And her
Oh,
husband.
I
Yeah.
fucking love. He goes, really? They're still together. Good for them. It didn't seem like it was going very well. That's what Coakley says. I was balls deep in her. Yeah, that was my sister. Tony, what do you got on this? This is a big
Yeah,
scene.
I think the character of Coakley is a breath of fresh air to the film, to be honest with you. Number one, that actor is awesome because he's usually the straight man, but he plays this guy, this, older, single, hipster character, whatever the fuck he is, to the hilt because he's just good. And his whole kind of breakdown of the Enter the Dragon bar scene is hilarious.
So good.
Okay. It's probably my favorite section of the film. And he's like, she's obviously nervous. She's got the patch. She quit smoking. She's chewing her fingernails. She's primed for you.
She's got a 6-inch sub in her bag. What does that mean? Just cool. Wants something in her mouth.
That's it. Obviously, she wants something in her mouth.
God. Oh, when he's doing that.
I'm surprised it almost wasn't.
He's doing the ugly.
Yeah.
The
Ugly, good
Beautiful,
looking,
right.
like you surrounded.
And you can physically see her becoming more
So
ugly. It's,
good.
it's like a filter on a
That
cell
was
phone,
very
yeah,
old
right.
school Farelly Brothers, that scene where
Right,
yeah, really
right.
good.
Yeah, they were able to get the genie to come out of the bottle there, but some of the other things they pulled just didn't fly per se. But Coakley is a breath of fresh air. The crazy modern house with the wicked party and him just being a complete maniac, loose cannon. And even the stories, because he's this mythic character until that point where he's at the Hawaiian tropic, beach, whatever the hell
tropic,
it is.
fucking,
And then he goes to
yeah.
goes to Iceland because obviously that's where all the hot girls go. I'm like, what? I don't get that, but whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, he's a wonderful character and he's played very well. So it's refreshing to see that. But it's also the idea that you see these two Nimrods in a club, if you will, for lack of a better term, and they're fish out of water. I mean, Owen Wilson, just his attire. He's got this horrific Hawaiian shirt that's 3 sizes too big, and he's trying to be cool, and he's just failing at everything. He's dancing in the bar, and he takes his shirt off like he's, some guest model, and the guy's just a buffoon. But like you said, it's genuine. He's a character you relate to, and Nikki Whalen Lee thinks it's cute, right? Because he's so real. He's an actual human. So
But did that feel
feel
real for you, their relationship? Like it would be possible for them to hook up?
Yeah, no, I get the feeling if I ever met Owen Wilson as a human, not as an actor, that's how he would be. Because he's consistently played that role, and I feel that that's kind of who he is. You know what I mean? I think he's just a decent person.
Did you catch?
And that might be a contrivance.
Did you catch Brent when he was doing the DJ booth, right? So Brent, throughout this movie, he's going to try to make Owen Wilson look old, right? That's his goal. You're talking about Snow Patrol, the movie. Like he's always trying to make him look old. So he's up in the DJ booth. And I just noticed this the last time I watched it. I never noticed this before. So Lee and Rick are down dancing on the dance floor, and it's a slow beat. And then it shows Brent, and Brent sees this, and he makes his face, and he goes, all right, it's time to pop the lid off this motherfucker. And he puts on this like aerobic workout beat, and then
it's like 160 beats per
and
minute.
they show Rick, and he's like literally about to have a heart attack. He is drenched in sweat like he jumped into a swimming pool. So that's what I was talking about, this subplot. It's fun watching this little war between fucking Brent and Rick going on as they fight over Lee. So I thought that was really great.
And even to the point, it becomes so ridiculously comedic as they're running in circles around the minivan being shot at. At that point, you just look at it and you go, fuck it, just go with it, because it's just, there's nothing there.
Tony, just quickly, so the 4 relationships we're getting outside the relationships. Just quickly, what do you think? The coach and Maggie, is there more there than we thought we saw?
Yeah, definitely. The coach is obviously a little more refined. He's a player in the sense of player, not baseball, but I mean, like, he's experienced. He's obviously wooed a few women in his time. He knows that she's vulnerable. He's He's the guy who's concerned. He listens.
And
He maintains eye contact. He plays off her. He lets her speak predominantly. He's obviously savvy.
so is Maggie happier with him if she leaves Rick? No.
No.
So that's exactly.
No, I don't see that.
exactly.
No, because eventually he's going to fucking leave her for the next girl
But
anyway.
Right. Because
'Cause
let's
it's
be
all-
real.
it's all a game.
Yeah. His job is to coach baseball and, I don't know.
So
woo women.
So my question is, we see here that fucking Maggie's got a great guy at home. Like this good looking baseball coach, it would just be a lay. That's it.
Well, and the deal. You never know what you've got until it's either taken away or you were threatened with losing.
Okay, now
that's when you gain perspective.
let's move on to Grace. Is Grace happier if she somehow forges a relationship with Gary, up and coming, probably pro baseball player?
No, of course not.
See,
and she has it slapped in her face too.
I think that Grace and Gary make a better couple than Grace and Fred. I think Fred is despicable. I don't think Fred should be in a relationship. I think he needs therapy and he needs to fucking.
Well, and that may well be, but you know how many Freds there are in the world, bro?
Oh, I know how many are in this room.
Half of America fits into the Fred category, I think, but I won't go there. That's the reason men are considered pigs, is because people like Fred exist and they are in large numbers.
I just feel like I could believe that Grace and Gary could hook up and become like an actual thing. She wasn't that much older than him where I'd be like, oh, that could never work. You know what I mean? Like, she's cool. She parties. They've got no kids. Fuck does she want to go home to Fred for? This guy wants to go out and bang other girls. You're fucking Christina Applegate and you're in the midst of a fucking chiseled fucking potentially pro baseball player.
Right, but as Delin said too about the coach relationship with Maggie, this is fleeting. This is May to December at the very best. The kid's gonna move on. He's not gonna play baseball his whole life. She's old enough to be mom or maybe mom or whatever you want to term it as, because they don't really get into the math of it. But it's the idea that, is there really a future here? No, this is infatuation. He thinks she's cute. She is. Yeah. She gets a case of the yips because all of a sudden the reality smacks her and she's like, get me the fuck out of
The stakes
Dodge.
are much higher for Maggie and Coach than they are for Grace and Gary, because there's no children involved. So that's why I'm saying, I could see Grace following that a little further down the rabbit hole. Like maybe she leaves Fred for a couple of months and follows the fucking team around or whatever. I don't know.
No, I don't. She's a little bit more moxie than that.
Yeah, I don't think
she even. Yeah, she even comes to the conclusion because she's ready to spill the beans.
Oh yeah,
right. She's got a case of guilt up the ass. She wants to tell Fred everything. She's not feeling super good about herself because she knows she fucked up. And what does he say, right? Because he's
never talk about it.
He's a complete fucking disaster. He's like, we're never going to talk about it. And of course she's like, okay, I'll take advantage here. But I think she was ready the second before that to just fall at his feet and do the exact opposite.
She absolutely was. But here's the fact. He made the mistake of saying, I did fake chow on Aunt Meg. So this is going to happen. The next time they're drinking, she's going to be like, guess what, fake chow? I fucked fucking the third baseman of the fucking Cape Cod fucking crab apples or whatever. And, he was hung like a fucking mule and he had a six pack. Okay, that relationship.
Yet he still apparently had a little premature ejaculation.
But that's because she didn't stay long enough. Dylan is dying. Dylan, keep it going. Let's finish this thing.
Upon hearing about Grace's accident, Fred tries to go to the hospital but finds Brent vandalizing his minivan, thinking it belongs to Rick. Upon seeing Paige's aunt, his mother, at the hotel, Brent thinks that Fred has had sex with her and tries to shoot them both, but runs out of bullets and is tackled by Paige and his mother. Rick and Fred drive off with Brent still on the roof. Police are chasing them and they don't stop until they get to the hospital where all of them are ambushed by the cops, but not before Fred gets inside the ER and learns that Grace has only suffered a broken nose. Outside, Brent has attacked the cops and seeing him as the aggressor, they arrest him and consider Fred and Rick victims. Rick goes and finds Maggie. He tells her that he did not use the hall pass and that she is the only woman he wants to be with, and they reconcile. Fred and Grace also reconcile and decide to hide their cheating from one another. However, Fred ultimately blurts that he faked chowed Paige's aunt when Grace asks him to take her to see Kathy Griffin in concert. During the credits, Fred hosts a barbecue where he pays Kathy Griffin to be present. Noticing how happy Maggie and Grace are following the hall pass, Gary's wife suggests that she give him a hall pass. After a fantasy where he sleeps with a married woman, resulting in the death of her husband, her grandmother, and several innocent bystanders, and ending with him getting anally sexually assaulted in prison, Gary decides to give it a go.
I like it.
Fucking ridiculous. In true Farelly fashion, we get a ridiculous dumpster fire of an ending, because this is what they do, right? The movie builds and builds and builds, and then the last 20 to 15 minutes is a fucking dumpster fire on purpose. Usually, yeah, the ending made me feel a little bit better because they were both going to get back together and fucking try to work on their marriages. But is it something about Mary, vibes? Is it that good? No. But, I get where they were going.
My ending is incredible. So here we get the final act. And Dylan, you nailed it. This is a total unhinged Farley's dumpster fire of craziness, right? But what I want to discuss is what the effects of the hall pass has had on the two different marriages. In my mind, Rick made the right choice by not sleeping with Lee. He got the green light from Lee, proving to himself he still got it. But he didn't jeopardize his marriage by acting on the opportunities presented with Lee or Paige. So I believe he's in a better place after the hall pass and happy to be married to Maggie. Now we move on to Maggie, who admitted the hall pass was for her. Also got the green light, but didn't act on it for different reasons. She, in my opinion, was thinking of the kids and the overall marriage first, and Rick's feelings last. And he's an afterthought. And she still has no sexual desire for Rick at all, and might regret not having the one night stand with Coach Rick when she had the chance. And I think that this is going to lead to more animosity towards her husband in the future. And she just seems unfulfilled in her marriage. And this feels like she sniffed the fucking chocolate eclair, but she didn't lick it or bite it. And she's going to be wanting that chocolate eclair now, So she caused all this hoopla and didn't fucking, mission was not accomplished. And she's going to fucking hold her husband responsible for this. I could have had Coach Rick. And here's the problem with this. Coach Rick and Maggie, they're the same age. They're like good to go. Like that could have been a relationship. And she obviously really liked this guy, but she's going back to her marriage that she's unfulfilled in for the kids, and fuck Rick, her husband's a piece of shit that's fucking holding her down. So she's in a worse place after the hall pass, in my opinion. Now, Fred, he has not changed at all. This little burst of ethics will be short-lived, and he will be back to his old ways in no time at all. And he told Grace about the fake child, which will ultimately lead to Grace telling him about Gary destroying their marriage. So in conclusion, Rick and Maggie will divorce when the kids move out and go to college, and Grace and Rick will be divorced 5 minutes after the movie is over. Both of these marriages are doomed to fail, in my opinion. Tony, talk about the end of the movie.
Okay. I love the Freudian eclair.
Thank you.
Segue there. That was interesting. Snipped but not sucked. Okay. I think the big thing here is that Dr. Phil needs to come in and drain the swamp of Maggie's brain. Maggie's the whole fucking problem here, okay?
Antagonist.
She comes up with this contrivance that is, my life is unfulfilling. Well, you know what, Shug? I hate to tell you, but life is not a fucking bowl of cherries. Sometimes you're in the pits. And you need to just dig yourself out, because that's what life is, right? Make personal responsibility. Get your shit together. You have a comfortable home with wonderful children. Most people give their fucking left arm for what you have. And you're feeling a little blue. I'm so sorry. Yep. You need to go and dump your head out to Dr. Hans and Franz there, whatever her fucking name is, Joy Behar, who's also the fucking problem, because she gives you this cockamamie fucking excuse on how to fix your life. And what does it do? As you so eloquently stated, it's only going to shove more shit in a 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. And when that blows up, boy, is it going to get messy. So I think you're right. I think Rick, unfortunately, is the only good person here, and he's going to be left holding that bag of shit after it explodes. It's going to be all over him. Maggie's going to leave in the middle of the night because, that's what she's bound to do.
Yep.
And as far as Grace goes, I think maybe she's got a comeuppance in her, and they might make it a year or two. But like you said, eventually everything leaks out, right? There's going to be a seminal moment where they're going to have to just go, well, you know what? I did blah, blah, blah. And it'll come out and all of a sudden it'll be like, well, fuck this. We're gone. So I think, unfortunately, without a lot of therapy and maybe some luck, both of these relationships are problematic. But then again, that's life. It is, everything is what you make of it. And if you come in with a shit attitude, you're going to get shit on the outside. So I like the way they actually did it because it wraps up a mess, but it all ends well and fuck it, because the whole film is so debased on its face. Who gives a fuck?
Nicely put.
Seriously.
Nicely put. All right, so that's it. We have broken down Hall Pass for you guys. I hope that you all enjoyed the discussion. Let's head over to the recasting couch and recast this thing, and then I will give you all this alternate ending that you've been waiting so patiently for. This is gonna be the best part of the podcast. Okay, so I would replace Bruce Thomas, one Mr. Coach Rick, with Ted Danson from the Cheers era. Right?
Nicely done.
Sure.
Nicely
Thank you.
done.
Tony, recast it.
I was not a fan of Fred, and it's not Jason Sudeikis' fault. I think it's the way he's written. I think if you're going to do a Fred, you need to do it more to the idea of a smooth kind of operator who's got this total sexual drive. So I took Justin Timberlake from the Dick in a Box skit on Saturday Night Live because I want him to be good looking and I want him to be a player. If he's going to earn grace, let's give him somebody that we can sink our teeth into. And then I can't stand Jenna Fisher, so I had to get rid of her. I picked Kristen Wiig only because she is that chick who plays both sides of the fence. She is all-American girl, but she has some hotness. She's smart. She's funny. She's a lot of things. And if you're going to be lost in the woods, at least make it interesting. Jenna Fisher was not. So that's
Tony,
my
I fucking love those recasts. That fucking Justin Timberlake recast is fucking awesome.
Yeah, we're going great guns on that one.
That's
baby.
really good. And again, the both of them are just really great because I fucking hate Jenna Fisher too. Fuck her. Dylan, go ahead.
Appreciate you.
The only person I recast was Brent the DJ, and I recast him with Zach Galifianakis.
I love that. I love that. I love
choice.
That.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nice job.
It's so
Nicely
perfect,
done.
right?
It's really good. All right, let's head on over to the alternate endings.
As if we'd end the movie like that. Yeah.
Let's do the Scooby-Doo ending.
Good call.
Okay, so here we go. So the movie ends just the way we all saw. Only in my ending, we get a black screen with the words, 1 year later. We hear the roar of the crowd and the camera fans into Fenway Park. Gary, who is just now playing for the Boston Red Sox, has hit a home run. And as he crosses home plate, Coach Rick, now the manager of the Red Sox, slaps him on the butt. Gary has just won the game. Grace and Maggie run onto the field and fall into Rick and Gary's arms. Fade to black. But we aren't done yet. The next shot is Fred and Rick getting blowjobs from two random guys for exactly 7 minutes, while Hoghead and the boys watch in delight. And finally, Brent is doing life for killing Lee in a fit of stalker rage. The end.
Wow. Wow.
Yay. That's a lot to unpack.
Wow. I think you're the one that needs to go to therapy.
Oh, I definitely need to go to therapy. But we've talked about this. So Dylan wants me to see a therapist, but I can't. I saw a therapist once, and on the third session, we were about 10 minutes in, and she said, I can't work with you anymore. You have to leave. You have to leave.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just about to say, Des, you might have to select the most resilient therapist known to man.
I need a psychiatrist, a doctor with a degree in dealing with people like me, because a real psychiatrist would have said, all right, we need to figure out why you're annoying me so much. This isn't this is what you're here for. But instead she was like, no, I don't want to win the Nobel Prize. Get the fuck out of my office.
Yeah. She was a little timid once she got into, the depths of it. It was well beyond her scope.
He's also not telling you the whole story. Her desk was not tidy, and he said to her, "How are you supposed to fix me when your desk looks like that?"
What happened?
Fuck it. He's the patient. He gets to make those calls as far as I'm concerned.
What happened?
Fucking A
every
right.
time I would go into her office for the first appointment, I was like, "This is messy," and I said something, and I'm like, "You seem unorganized." And I tried to like straighten some stuff out while we were talking, just like just nervously using my hands to clean her desk up. And she's like, "Don't do that.
So
Please
wait a
don't
minute.
do that."
You were cleaning her desk for
Correct.
her?
Setting things up the way I like it. So
Oh, that's rich.
the second
bro.
time we went in, and kind of some more of the same stuff happened. Some comments were made, maybe about her messy dress or something, the way she was dressing, and her best being a mess or something. And she kept saying, "This isn't about me. It's about you. Stop talking." And finally, the last day, I started with the desk thing again, and she was like, "You know what? I'm not going to charge you for today. We're done, and you just need to find somebody else to talk to."
No, you're nothing if not consistent. I love
Okay. Let's do some final thoughts and some rewatch scores on this one. I'm gonna hold my score. All right. I'll go first. I don't want you guys to think I'm fucking like boosting my score to get this movie closer to the top. So this is a movie about horrible people and toxic relationships, was surrounded by horrible toxic friends, but somehow it's hilarious. So for me, this one scores 4.09. I love this movie, and I've watched it endlessly, and I'll watch it many, 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 many more times. I watch it right after the podcast. Tony.
I unfortunately did not share your zeal for this cinematic expression, to say the very least. I'm going to give it a 1.90. Especially coming from this duo of guys that have written and directed much, much better stuff. And it wasn't like this was low budget or their first movie or didn't have the talent. It was just a shoddy script that they pushed to the edge of the envelope, and it just didn't work for me. Some of their other films are great. And it's funny, too, because you mentioned horrible people, and I thought of Horrible Bosses in this film, which I thought was so much better executed because it is to that effect. And this film had great potential. I think that, other than some of the people we pointed out, it's got the elements. It just didn't quite get over that hill. I did have a couple belly laughs, but I thought it could have been a lot more like the Dumb and Dumber, the Kingpin, Me, Myself, and Irene kind of Farelly stuff. But, you can't hit a home run every time you get up to bat.
Fair enough. Lynn.
So I agree with Tony that when it comes to Farelly Brothers offerings, this one's not great. There's some laughs for sure. Like, it got me a couple times. Like, I definitely found myself laughing out loud. So it's not a complete skid, but not their best work. I love Christina Applegate though, and I thought that she did the best with what she was given. So I'm still going to give it a 1.75. I'm not trying to nuke it out of the water, but not a great showing from them. And I feel like it could have been done better.
All right, add up those scores and tell us where Hall Pass lands on the Hey, Did You Ever See That Movie charts. And I hope that it falls below Neighbors, because Neighbors is the best movie ever. Radio, old friend. I want you to write in and give me your score for the John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd movie, Neighbors. I want to know what Radio thinks of this movie, 1 through 5.
I think that it's cruel and unusual punishment to our one fan to ask them to go watch that movie.
I think you're fucking crazy, because the movie is a perfect 5.
It's absolutely
okay. So where are we?
So Hall Pass comes out at 2.58, which puts it right below Neighbors.
Sweet.
Wow. What a call.
That's awesome.
And right above Scrooged and Jumanji.
Nice. Scrooge sucked. I hated that movie. And Jumanji was also terrible. Oh, wait. That was the Chris,
It's the Rock
one. Yeah, no, that was actually very
Yeah,
funny.
it's Welcome to the Jungle.
That was very, Welcome to the Jungle, babe. Paul Stanley. Okay. I don't know. Next.
Thanks for that. That was nice.
Next week on the next Violent Vinyl Radio, our sister podcast, we'll be breaking down White Lion's Pride album. So that's it. Until next time, I just have one question for you. Hey, did you ever see that movie? See you next time.